Mm, Let me see when you go so that I can press go, 'cause that's what I know to do. Okay, so here I am, guys, jumping on real quickly. I just jumped out the shower, but while in the shower, I was inspired to jump on and share a little bit of my experience. And hopefully, if this lands, well, not hopefully, this is going to land with whomever, wherever it's meant to land. Nowhere, somewhere, anywhere, it doesn't really matter. I am following my heart, and as such, it will land wherever. Okay. So I was in the shower and I was lathering up soap the way I normally do, right? Didn't even think about it. Lathering up soap, and I was going clockwise. I'm right-handed. I was using my right hand and I was going clockwise. And then I'm like, I'm going to go counterclockwise because I'm present. So I always like to watch the bubbles form, the water trickle. So I'm watching and I was able to go counterclockwise, but it took more effort, right? And so I achieved the same result, just took more effort. Why am I sharing that with you? All right, guys. So this week, I have navigated the transition of my cousin, who's 37 years old, who entered into a different experience spiritually than this human one. And today is his celebration of life. And up until this morning, I had every intention of attending the celebration of life. So I wake up and my body is like, no, you need to pause. You need to be still and know that I am consciousness, creation, love, God, however you define it. And so my ego kicked in. Oh, your family's going to feel like you're letting them down, that you don't care. You're responsible to show up and give people hugs and hold space for them, all this stuff. And so I got quiet and I paused and made an effort to be still. And in that stillness, I knew that I didn't need to do any of those things to extend love to my family, to be in appreciation and communion for the life of my cousin, that I could sit in my chair, happy as a clam, and do all of those things. And so that required effort. It required effort over decades of training my brain to seek what I wanted it to find, which is peace. And that is what most people struggle to achieve, peace, because we're so busy thinking about who we're going to let down, how it's going to look, what's wrong with us for not wanting to do the thing, all these crazy, crazy thoughts that we're not able to achieve stillness, which then directs you to the choice that is in the highest good for everything and everyone in the first place. Because if you think that overextending yourself in service to others is unconditional love, you're not offering that unconditional love to yourself. So, going back to the shower analogy, I went counterclockwise. It wasn't hard, but it required effort. It required me being aware of how my hand was moving, what was happening, and order to achieve the result I wanted. And that's what I encourage all of you guys to consider. We oftentimes don't like the experience we're having, but we don't know that the effort that we need to input effort to have a different experience. Furthermore, most often we beat ourselves up. We sit in judgment of ourselves. Oh, I should have known better, blah, blah, blah. No, you shouldn't have. You didn't know better. So, how can you know better? But I will say, if you want a more joy filled life, it is going to take effort to change your thinking in order to achieve that joy filled life. And once you understand this principle, you know peace, because now I am sitting in my chair. I'm about to spend a day very leisurely in unconditional love for myself and for everybody else. And it's because I have trained my brain to seek what it is I desire, which is peace, which is unity, which is unconditional love, which is joy, which I've been able to accomplish and experience all week, despite the seeming evidence that some would say is in my life right now to contradict knowing peace and joy. So, all this to say, guys, is it requires effort to change your mindset. It requires effort to change your belief system. It requires effort to give yourself permission to have a new experience. It requires effort. It's not hard, but it requires effort. And we don't always see the fruits of that effort right away. And so we stop putting in the effort. And my encouragement to all of you guys is to consider putting forth the effort, regardless of whether you see changes or feel changes right away or not, because eventually they will germinate. You're germinating, you're planting seeds. What you sow, you shall reap, right? And eventually you will know peace. So when I started meditating 15 years ago, I journaled. So luckily I have that information. I couldn't sit for 30 seconds. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. I hated my thoughts. I hated myself. I couldn't stand my life, all these things. But I was driven to be able to meditate. And so every day I put forth 30 seconds, which became 45 seconds, which became a minute. Fast forward 15 years, I can be in a crazy station in New York City, Penn Station, and I can drop into meditation. And in doing so, I know peace. So despite my external circumstance of being around a noisy station, I can drop in and be still and know that I am everything and nothing all at once. So, guys, I encourage you, I really encourage you. You're worthy of your own effort. So, might you consider putting in effort in order to know and achieve and experience the life that you want? And it doesn't have to be peaceful, it doesn't have to be joyful. I don't care what you want to experience. But if the life you live right now doesn't provide you with fulfillment, then I offer you insight as to how to achieve that fulfillment, which is to put forth the effort in changing the way you think. And in changing the way you think, you change the experience that you're living. Mwah.